What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 382. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. When you are listening to this, it is freezing cold in Georgia here. Actually, these past, for the most part, it's been pretty decent in terms of weather because, we've had days where it's 70 degrees, 60 degrees. So in Georgia, it doesn't get too bad, but man, today especially, it was 30, which is, I know some people are laughing ha ha ha, I'm over here at -10, blah, blah, blah. But I used to live in that area, which was in Iowa, where it would get freezing cold, -10, -20 sometimes, whatever. And I was tired of it. So that's the reason why we moved here in Georgia. But even 30 degrees is pretty cold. So what's funny is when I first moved to Georgia, I came from Iowa, obviously. It was freezing cold over there. But when I moved to Georgia and it was 30 degrees, it felt like it was warm because I was so used to being in 0 degree weather or -10 or 10 degrees. When it became here 30, it was like nothing. But now I've gotten used to this weather, so now when it becomes 30, I'm freezing. So that's just funny how your body adapts to different things as the years go on. Yeah, there's a lot of news, man, and one of the most exciting to me is the J. Cole album. I'm just gonna get straight into that. I want to talk about that immediately. I'm excited, man. I've been waiting for a new J. Cole project for years. This Fall Off album has been, announced, and a while ago he actually had a list of albums that he was gonna, put out, his planned schedule. And according to J. Cole, the Fall Off is his last album, and that's it. He's done. He's not making music anymore, which I usually don't believe. Whenever these artists say, "Oh, I'm retiring, it's my final album," I just never believe it because they always come back. It's always something where they just have to come back. It's like a boxer sometimes, where a basketball player where they say, "I'm done," and then they come back. Like Michael Jordan saying he retired, he's done. Instead, he comes back and plays for the Wizards in his Dookie water. And then, let's just say, who else? Jay-Z was a great example of, quote unquote, retiring after the Black album. And then he comes back. So I don't think J. Cole's going to retire. I just don't believe it. Who knows? He might be a person that retires, though, because he is very low key. So I would not be surprised if he does retire. But I think it's all about how the Fall Off is received as an album. If it's received really well, then yes, I can see him retiring and being like, hey, this is my send-off. But that's also, a catch-22 where it's like, oh shit, I still got it. People still love me. I still need to keep going. Or it's like, hey, I'm gonna end this off with a bang with the best project that I've ever released in my career, and I keep it moving. But usually people come back. If they drop a very good, like Michael Jordan doing, a three-peat, again a three-peat. He could have retired after that three-peat and went out like a pure legend. Instead, he came back because I think he thinks he still had it at the time. And that's the problem with it is you need to find a balance of do I want to come back and potentially ruin my legacy, or do I just want to retire? So yeah, that's the gist of it. The album is sounding, he released one track and people are saying it's a double disc album because the track is titled Disc 2, Track 2, I believe. Let me see just to make sure. Yeah, it's titled The Fall Off Disc 2, Track 2. And it sounds amazing, man. Now, the challenge, at least in my opinion, is if he can top Born Sinner. To me, that's his best album. To me, that if he can do better than that, then he's definitely going out on top. But to me, that's very hard for him to top because to me, I consider that a classic. As you guys know, I don't just throw the word classic around lightly. Not the Fall Off, but Born Sinner to me, I don't skip a single track off that album. I can't think of a single track I skip off that album. I really, really love that album. Something about it was just perfect, man. I think the timing of when it came out, all that stuff. I consider the For Your Eyes Only, not For Your Eyes Only. Let me see which one it is. I think it's For Your Eyes Only. I'm tripping right now. Let me go over his catalog because, yeah, so For Your Eyes Only, I consider his worst album. It's so bad. I think I only like one track on there. King of Diamonds, I think it's King of Diamonds, KOD, right? Or Kids King of Diamonds. Why am I thinking King of Diamonds? Isn't that like a strip club or something? It's Kids on Drugs, King Overdosed, Kill Our Demons. I guess those are the four or the three different acronyms or whatever. But that album was all right too. I wasn't like, it's that good of an album. But then when the off season came, I really enjoyed the off season. I really liked that album. So Cole's had what's interesting about Cole's career, he's had for me at least, in my opinion, he's had interesting swings where one album's fucking amazing and it's a classic to me, And then the next album is just pure dog shit. I don't know how to. It's sorry for saying that word, dog shit. Like I'm completely shitting on his music, like he's horrible or something. I don't know why I use some of the most disrespectful words. It's just not a good album. Is basically what I'm saying. I don't want to disrespect these artists and their craft like that by saying that. I need to chill with that. But like he has these moments where it just swings. His first album, debut album, Cold World, The Sideline Story, I actually enjoyed it. It was pretty good. But then Born Center to me is a classic. Then you go to 2014 Forest Hills Drive, and it's pretty good. I don't think of it as like his best album. A lot of people consider that his best album, but it's a good album. It's up. It's probably great. It's probably 8 out of 10. And then you go to For Your Eyes Only, and it's just horrible. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do an album ranking of J. Cole. I'm actually gonna do that. That's before the Fall Off comes out. I'm gonna do that. I know I've been saying that on the podcast a lot, but I'm gonna do a quick album ranking of this because I've actually listened to a lot of these projects. I'm gonna re-listen to only like KOD and For Your Eyes Only. Those are the only ones I gotta listen to. I've listened to a lot of these throughout like last year. Cold World, Silent. So I'm actually do an album ranking of this. And yeah, I'm just to me, Born Sinner is the best album on there, and that's just what I think. It's a classic to me, but yeah, he has these swings where it's like, to me, it feels like it's not consistent. It started out consistent, like the Cold World, Sideline Story, I liked. Born Center, classic. 2014 Forest Hills Drive, like those first 3 was like, yeah, he's solid. But then it just went after there, just like left and right, and it was just weird. He had 2 back-to-back like bad albums to me, but that's just my take, Regardless, I'm excited. I think he had a list. Let me see what his list of albums were that he put online. People are saying that there's a double disc and he's going to drop like another album before the Fall Off. And the list is this. He actually showed it. This is from J. Cole himself. The Off Season, which he already released. It's a Boy, which is in the middle. And then the Fall Off. So It's a Boy has to be something. That has to be a project. So we'll see. That's what we're looking at. I'm excited nonetheless. The track sounds amazing. It sounds like it could potentially be J. Cole's best work ever. Now, if he ends up on top and the album is great, I don't want him to retire. If it's all right and it's mid, it's like a 6 out of 10, then I'll be like, all right, man, hang it up. Let these new youngins, do their thing. I mean, I still, at the end of the day, he's young, man. How old is J. Cole? He's like 40 years old, which is still young. Yeah, he's exactly 40 years old. He actually turns 41 in like a week and a half. January 28th is his birthday. So about a week and a half he turns. So he's 41 years old. That's not that old in terms of making music and hip hop, at least in today's time. If this was in the early 2000s, they'd be clowning. They'd be saying, you're, old fart, get the fuck up out of here, But now, it's extended. I think he can still rap in his prime till his 50s like Eminem is doing. But yeah, hopefully, you know what's cool? I hope there's some cool features on this album. I hope, I would love to get a J. Cole and Eminem track together since that hasn't happened. I would love to get a J. Cole and 50 Cent track again because J. Cole is a huge fan of 50. They worked on the Born Sinner like deluxe version where like it was a mixtape. What was the mixtape that he added on top of that? It was like a deluxe version with the mixtape on it. And on that track, 50 was on it, the New York Times, but it was only 50 on the hook. Like I would love to have a J. Cole and 50 track where like, they're both going back to back in bars or 50 just has a great verse. Eminem on there. To be honest, I would like to hear J. Cole and Jay-Z. I love Mr. Nice Watch. I don't remember the last time they collaborated. That actually might have been the last time they actually collaborated. I could be wrong because I can't think of right now when Jay-Z. I would love to hear Jay-Z on the album. I would love a J. Cole and Kendrick track. I would love J. Cole and Drake again. Who else, man? Who else on the album that I would love? I don't know. Those are just coming to my mind right now. There's plenty more, but those are the select few. Since we haven't heard J. Cole and Eminem, I would like that the most. If you were to ask me, hey, what would you want out of this the most as a feature? I would put Eminem on there. I would just like to hear them two together. It would be interesting. That's all. So that's my kind of take on it. I just wanted to talk about the J. Cole thing immediately, just get it out the way because I'm just excited for it, man. When I saw the announcement, heard the track, I couldn't wait, man. I've been waiting for a J. Cole album for a long time. I consider J. Cole one of the best. He's in my top 10, period. It might not seem like that because he doesn't drop a lot of music, and I don't really talk about him often because he's not really in the scene. But, that's the thing, too. You guys got to remember as well is just because, like, media outlets are, me specifically, I don't talk about certain artists, doesn't mean I don't like them. It's just they're not in the news. They're not out there. And then people, question, why are you always talking about 50? Well, 50 is, like, The reason why 50's so relevant musically now, again, still, is because of all the stuff he does daily. He's always in the cycle of the news. There's always something new. So when people are like, why are you always reporting off? Why are you always talking about 50? He's always in the news. Like legitimately every week there's something. And that keeps his name relevant versus a J. Cole where it's like he disappears. And then finally you hear he's dropping an album and then we talk about him for that, 2-3 weeks, and that's it. And then he disappears again and you never hear about him again. You'll hear about, the Cameron lawsuit against J. Cole, but that's about it. You won't hear much of anything from him. So you can't talk about somebody who's just not out there like that. That's just the reality of the situation. So when people are questioning, why are you talking about only this person or that person or this? Because they're the ones that are just out there, in the media making their waves. That's really about it. You can only report on what's out there unless you're doing rankings and just, critiquing music all day on the podcast, which I could go that route as well. It would be a lot harder, but I just like the news cycle because one, it keeps you guys informed. It keeps me informed. I stay in the loop of things. And, that helps for anything else that I'm, working on down the line. And then, we'll do, like I said, I'm going to do the J. Cole one. I legitimately, by the time the next episode comes out, I will release a J. Cole album ranking. I'm going to do that immediately. And then I'm going to, I could wait till after the fall off, but fuck it. I'm just going to do it right now. I'm going to do the Kanye West one as well. I'm going to do a 50 Cent one because I know a lot of you guys want me to rank 50's albums. And, you guys are like, oh, this was what I think you think. Whatever. I'm going to rank those. I'm going to rank a lot of albums. I just want to do a lot of album rankings. I'm in the mood for that. I've always been, in the mood for that. And then I'm going to do I think Alonzo, shout out to you. We're talking about potentially listening to old album or ranking or giving my take on old albums that came out, like Tupac, All Eyes on Me, and giving what I think out of 10 about it. So I might end up doing that as well because believe it or not, I know it's going to be a shock to a lot of you guys. With me being 30 years old, turning 31, Tupac, when he was in his prime, I was born in 1995. I was one before Tupac died, basically. I made it to 1 year old. That's it. So in Tupac's prime, I wasn't listening to this guy's music like that. It's not like I know every single Tupac song that's ever come out or every Biggie record or, or every song that came out in the 90s. I don't. I know a lot of it. I know a bulk of it, but that's something that would be really cool to go over as well. But yeah, let's get into the news. And unfortunately, we're going to start it out with some sad news. Grammy-nominated Fugees collaborator John Forte is dead at 50 years old. So let's go over this. 2026 is off to a difficult start for the loved ones of John Forte. The Martha's Vineyard Times reports that the beloved musician has passed away at the age of 50 years old. At the time of the writing, his family has yet to release an official statement on his passing. According to Chilmark Police Chief Sean Slavin, Forte was found unresponsive on his kitchen floor by a neighbor yesterday, January 12th. The neighbor notified authorities, but despite their efforts, Forte was pronounced dead at the scene. No foul play is expected. Reportedly, Forte was taking medication to control seizures after a health scare put him in a hospital roughly a year ago. He is survived by his wife, Laura Fuller, and their 2 kids. So, sad news, man. Rest in peace to him. Obviously, part of a legendary group. Continuing on, more sad news, and it's Kurupt. Kurupt is facing some health problems, and Kurupt's a legend in hip hop. So let's go over this. Kurupt has dealt with his fair share of health issues over the years, and now it looks like another battle is underway. Recently, Daz Dillinger took to Instagram to ask fans to send their support to the Philly-born performer, revealing that he's currently recovering from something. God said we shall live and not die, his message began. We want to send a big shout out to my brother, Kurupt. Get well, speedy recovery. Need all fans to send Kurupt a get well message. Flood his Instagram, tell him how much we love him. Rest in peace to my cousin Joe, Cool, Nate Dogg, and others that we lost. So I need everybody to hit Kurupt and let him know that we love him from his little brother Daz. Life is serious. Shout out to, and he shouts out a bunch of people. Dog Pound, Gangsters for Life, God first. From there, Kurupt has returned home from recent hospitalization, so let's go over that. All Hip Hop's Nolan Strong exclusive reports that he's been released. Daz didn't share any more details on his post. So yeah, there's no updates on in terms of details, but he's been released from the hospital, so he's back home. So he's probably doing better if he's been released. Sometimes, man, with these hospitals, it's very scary. They will think you're doing good. They will release you, and then you could potentially die. I've seen stories like that lots of times, man. And what's sad about these hospitals, especially in America, and I'm sure across the globe, is if you say you're sick and you have a problem, sometimes they just brush it off and say, hey, it's not that big of a deal. This is why if you can, if it's possible, because I know it's very hard with insurances and stuff like that, try to get an opinion. Unless it's something emergency, you can't do this. Obviously, if it's an emergency, you got to go to the hospital immediately. But I'm talking about if you feel sick or something's going on, don't just go off the opinion of one doctor, because one doctor could say, hey, you're fine. I don't really notice anything. The next doctor could say, hey, there's something here. And then the next doctor could say, this is something as well. So if your insurance allows it, and if you're not getting charged a lot, and if, your time, like when it comes to health, your time, you 100% got to dedicate to it. There's no, what was the saying? It's like this quote that says like, if you take care of your bodies, if you take care of your body in the 20s and 30s, your body will take care of you. Actually, it's 20, 30s, and 40s. If you take care of your body in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, your body will take care of you in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And that's just the best way to explain it. If you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, while you're in that age bracket, man, try to do as much working out as possible, be as active as you can, eat as healthy as possible. Because when you get in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, you don't want to have to rely on medication or going to the doctors, because at the end of the day, when you're going to the doctors, you're putting your life in that person's hands. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying that every doctor is a bad person or, hospitals are all evil. At the end of the day, nobody cares about your life like you. Like you obviously give a shit about your life more than everybody else, whatever. So you putting your life in somebody else's hands, most of the time, most people just don't really care that much as you would about your own life. And that's just the reality of the situation. I'm saying all that to say, take care of your health, and sometimes if you feel you're sick about something, try to get another opinion from a different doctor. In school, I was a C student, straight C student, barely got A's or B's. I got A's in gym, because gym I would always go to. I would love going to gym, playing basketball, dodgeball, whatever. But I was a straight C student. And in college, you can get away with straight C's and graduate. So your doctor could be a straight C doctor, like a C grade doctor. And you wouldn't know the difference between an A or a C. You don't know which one you're getting. I'm not saying that to say that's, because some of the C doctors probably are amazing. Some of the A are probably horrible. So it doesn't really matter about grades. I'm just saying the history of each doctor could be way different. And a lot of doctors and, nurses and all this stuff, they get trained a specific way. They don't think about other routes, because the beautiful part about today's time, we are living in a moment in life where it is super rare. We have so much convenience to us. It could be a bad thing and a good thing. The bad thing in convenience, obviously, you can become really, really lazy, like getting DoorDash and never going out to buy your food, whatever, just the lazy route of things, right? The good news about it is if something goes wrong, if you're feeling health issues or this, you can potentially look it up yourself and not cure yourself, because I'm not going to say to a certain extent, I can't say, hey, you can just cure yourself off of eating the most organic things ever. There's a certain extent where if you eat healthy, it will help you. But there's certain medical practices that will help you as well, that there's nothing wrong. There's certain medical things out there that we need. Modern medicine does help to a certain extent. Now, blood pressure, diabetes, these things, I have an actual uncle had diabetes and he cured it. Just eating properly, man. That's all it really takes, is getting out all the bad food, all the salt, sugar, whatever, all the processed food with all these chemicals in them. It's some of the stuff is very simple. Some of the stuff is difficult, but a lot of it's very simple, man. Just number one priority is sleep. I've realized that the past year is sleep is the number one thing. If you can get your proper, deep, good sleep, it beats out everything else, because sleep is where your body comes and cleans itself. It's like, it's like a hotel at the night where they start cleaning. A bunch of employees come and clean the carpets and, clean the bed sheets and all that. That's what your body does during sleep. It cleans itself. You need that proper sleep. If you're not getting proper sleep, try your best to get it. Don't stay on your phone 30 minutes to an hour before bed. Read a book if you can. Put some red lights around you. That'll help. That helps, release melatonin and go to sleep properly. Get deep sleep. That's the most important. This Whoop thing that I got on my wrist, I'm not sponsored by Whoop or anything. I'm not, but this thing on my wrist that I use, it helps me with a lot of that stuff. So I highly recommend it. If you have the means to get it, get it. It's very, very worth it, man. It's a yearly subscription. I think I paid $250 for the whole year. So I don't know if you split that into 12 months, what that is, but I think I would assume, I don't know. I'm horrible at math. Yeah, I'm not even going to try to guess with numbers, but yeah, it's worth it, man, for that. Anyways, I'm getting on a whole rant here. I'm just saying health is, shout out to Kurupt. Glad he's doing better. Sometimes when you get released from hospitals, it's not always the best thing. So I hope it's a good thing on his end. I hope he bounces back because he's a legend. And we'll keep updating and see what happens. Updates on the Cam'ron lawsuit against J. Cole. So let's go over this. Cam'ron has voluntarily dropped his case against Universal Music Group over his 2024 collaboration with J. Cole, Ready 24. According to All Hip Hop, both parties agreed to cover their own legal costs. He made the dismissal without prejudice and in turn could refile at a later time. Despite the move, he is still pursuing legal action against Cole individually. So he's still suing J. Cole, just not the label again. Cam originally filed the case back in October, alleging that he is still owed at least $500,000 for his contribution to the song. He claimed that in exchange for his work on Ready 24, Cole agreed to join him for another collaboration in the future, either on a song or with an appearance on his podcast. It is what it is. He says he confirmed with Cole that he wouldn't authorize the release until that collaboration came to fruition. Over the next 2 years, Cam says he reached out to Cole on numerous occasions to schedule a podcast appearance, but was told he was unavailable. 2 years later, with Cole having refused to honor his agreement to collaborate with Cam'ron on either a single or on the podcast, defendants nevertheless released Ready 24 on the album Might Delete later. The lawsuit alleges to help recoup his losses. Cam says he wants to be named a co-author of the song. Cam'ron has mostly avoided discussing the lawsuit during an episode of his Talk with Flea podcast in November. Sin City asked Cam about the situation while praising Cole as a future legend. I think J. Cole is definitely going to be a rap legend, 100% definite, Cam admitted at the time, but he don't get a pass. Cole has yet to publicly address the lawsuit. So now with J. Cole releasing his Fall Off album, I'm sure he will either address it in the music or he will appear on Cam'ron's podcast and figure out all the legalities of that. But that's the update of that. He's left the Universal thing. They've come to a certain agreement. Now it's just directly J. Cole. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Continuing on, FBG Duck's mom doubles down on the lawsuit against Lil Durk. So let's go over this. FBG Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, is continuing her wrongful death lawsuit against Lil Durk, Kim Vong's estate, and various record labels. In an update on Instagram on Tuesday, she confirmed that a judge recently ruled that she can bring her case to court. The ruling is in and my son gets his day in court, she wrote. The court ruled we can't continue our lawsuit against Lil Durk and the record labels. Our fight continues. I want to thank my attorney, Roosevelt Allen, and his team for their exceptional work on this case. Let's go. In the comment section, fans criticized Weekly for taking legal action over the situation. This is crazy. Your son and his gang terrorized the streets for years. They glamorized it and laughed at people's deaths. When it was his turn, you ran to the courts, SMH, one user wrote. Another added, you know damn well your son would never approve of no police shit like this. Keep it in the streets. You acting like he wasn't a real gangster. Lashina Weekly originally filed her lawsuit back in October 2024 in an attempt to get justice for her son, who was shot and killed in August 2020. She accused Lil Durk, King Von, and their associates of allegedly engaging in a conspiracy to murder Duck and placing a $100,000 bounty on his head. Additionally, she alleged that Alamo Records, Sony Music Entertainment, Universal Music Group, Interscope Records, and Empire Distribution knowingly profited from artists. So here's my kind of situation on this, right? My take on it. I do think to a certain extent, that's the key word here, that labels should get sued for this type of stuff. Now, there's a whole bunch of, people can say, oh, it's the artists. They're the ones that put out the music. They're the ones that live that life. They're the ones that are choosing to make this kind of music. Why sue the labels? They're just giving them a platform to distribute it. Well, I mean, if I give you a platform to, let's just say, what's a fucking good example here, man? This is where I'm struggling. Sometimes I'm terrible at doing examples. If I give you a platform, like on this podcast, right? I bring people on from the streets and I give them a platform to voice how they feel about other people to millions of people. To a certain extent, I'm held liable for that because I built this platform. Somebody's coming on a platform and talking shit about a certain group of people or whatever. And that shit talking can invoke other people to go attack these people, right? So labels, to a certain extent, they got money to where they can push these records and push them all over the place. And that would get the other side really angry. The ops very angry because they're seeing them all over the place. disrespecting their dead homie or whatever the case may be. There needs to be, to a certain extent, labels need to be held liable. Labels need to say, hey, you are signed to us. We don't want a song, and we're not going to release or push a song of you talking about a dead person and laughing about that dead person. Let me go over, actually want to, because you know what song comes to my head? That Fulio record. Because Fulio's dead right now, but When I See You, that record where he's at the gravesite laughing. Let me see if there's like an actual major distribution of that song, if a major label helped distribute that song. Because I don't know. I think he's independent at that time. Yeah, this says 2021 Fulio. It doesn't say like no label behind that record. But if you go like to Lil Durk, which is the aha, like that's a label push that. That's 100% by, I think, I want to say Atlantic Records. I could be wrong because I don't remember. I think he used to be signed to Def Jam, and then he moved to Atlantic and, let me see, Alamo Records, which is part of Sony Music Entertainment. So Sony Music, they could easily say, hey, Lil Durk, you can't push this song on our label. We're not going to push this record. Because on that record, he is talking about, people that are dead. To a certain extent. Obviously not as graphic as some other tracks. But this kind of music, if the label said, hey, we are not pushing this kind of music. We don't want you talking about dead people. We want you to keep it, you can keep it gangsta, but don't directly mention people. No subliminals, no nothing. Now, you could say to a certain extent, labels are ignorant. They don't know what the hell is going on. They don't know if, Durk actually has beef with these people or what's. Yeah, I get that. But come on, if we, the people, regular people who are not involved at all in any of this, know what the fuck these records are about, how can the label not know? So come on. The label does hold a certain responsibility. Now, is the blame 100% on the label? No. Fuck no. It's the artists themselves. They're doing this kind of music. It's the people involved. So her lawsuit, to a certain extent, like, you can't sue Lil Durk. It's like, come on, man. Lil Durk was beefing with your son. Your son was terrorizing them. They were terrorizing, your guys' side. And that's just the reality of the situation. It was gang related. But the labels, I can understand the lawsuit, though, to a certain extent. Like I said, to a certain extent. Because it's only so much you can blame, the labels for stuff. Because how can the labels, be blamed for something that the artist is creating? I just know back in the early 2000s, this shit would not fly. Labels were not pushing records like this. That's why artists made mixtapes and released the gangsta shit on mixtapes. And on the albums, yeah, I mean, you had diss tracks, but nobody's making fun of dead people. I can't recall a single track in the early 2000s of any artist making fun of a dead person. Now, Back Down from 50, right? He's making fun of Ja Rule's kids on there, which is pretty to a certain extent, pretty far. He's dissing them, but he's not making fun of anybody dead. And that's the difference. Like, nowadays, they're making fun of dead people when they're shooting videos at grave sites and whatever the hell may be, right? So, I don't know. We'll keep our eyes posted. I'm really curious to see how this goes. Like, because if she wins this, right, and successfully sues Lil Durk, that might change the game for forever. Then artists will be like, shit, if I die, somebody's going to sue my mom or whatever the case may be, and then she's got to deal with all this stuff. And I worked, hopefully, I actually want this to go through. I actually want her to win, because hopefully that triggers something in their mind like, hey, man, we can get sued for this shit after we die. Like, it can ruin my whole family's life. I don't know. Hopefully they think like that and they actually go to the path of, this is not worth it. I don't know, man. At the end of the day, money-wise, all this stuff that's intertwined in all this, I don't think they really care, man. It's about ops and just destroying the ops, and that's it. Unfortunately, it's gotten to that extent. But yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. It's very interesting nonetheless. It's one of those lawsuits that I really, really want to see the outcome of. Speaking of a lawsuit, Chris Brown's $500 million lawsuit that he was hit with has been tossed out by the judge. And honestly, it makes sense. So let's go over it. Last January, Chris Brown decided to take legal action against Warner Brothers and the production house Ample over the docuseries Chris Brown History of Violence. The doc aired on ID back in 2024. It dives into the performer's allegedly problematic past, shining a light on allegations of abuse, sexual misconduct, and more. In his lawsuit, Brown accused Warner Brothers and Ample of publishing defamatory claims about him. According to him, this was allegedly done after they were given proof that the claims were false. That's not right, and that's not good. I'll just say it right here to shame on you, Warner Brothers. His lawyer, Levi McCatherine, said at the time, shame on you, big companies, for doing this to people's lives, because at the end of the day, people are more important than companies. Now, Billboard reports the lawsuit has been dismissed by Judge Colin Lees. The court has personally viewed the entire documentary. The documentary recites most of the inconsistencies plaintiff notes, including the existence of text messages he wrote. Media defendants thus presented a fair and true report of the woman's statements and the judicial record and proceedings. At the time of this writing, Brown has not publicly addressed the dismissal. He does have a chance to appeal it in the future if he chooses to. As for the doc, the Long Isle says Chris Brown's past all the way back to his troubled childhood explores the lasting impact of the cycle of abuse and poses the question, how does a man with such a violent public record maintain his superstar status with expert and cultural commentary layered throughout? The documentary provides thoughtful reflections into each survivor's experience and psychological destruction in the aftermath of their abuse. So yeah, the judge basically said this is, the facts that were presented in it were what did the judge exactly? Recites most of the inconsistencies plaintiffs know. So yeah, they go over they basically tell the brutal truth, hey, this could potentially be the case, but it's not. It could, in documentaries, you just got to be honest. That's really it, and you can't really get sued. If people are lying, straight up lying in the documentary, saying yes, this person abused me, yes, with no proof, then there's a lawsuit. But if you're saying, hey, I had these text messages back and forth with Chris Brown, I went through this experience, that was my experience, then you can't really. There's nothing you could say because people can have their own experiences on things. It just has to be, it's all about how you present it. That's why with the Sean Combs, The Reckoning, the cost of the documentary was mainly lawyers looking with a fine comb through it to see if there's anything that he could sue for. That's really what these documentaries are. I mean, me, I was scared about the Give or Die Trying documentary. I talked to 50 Cent's lawyer. This is when I was trying to get in contact with 50 to get him on the documentary. His lawyer said, do not make this documentary. And my heart sank. I was scared as shit. And then I would talk. I didn't have money for lawyers because it costs a lot to get a lawyer's opinion to look over the documentary and then kind of give their take on if you should do it or not. But I had 2 lawyer friends and they were just hey, as long as you're not disrespecting him or telling completely false stories, you should be good. And at the end of the day, if you look at the documentary, I'm not disrespecting him. I'm actually just praising him. And that's it. There's nothing really crazy about it to where it's very disrespectful or, so I looked at it as I looked at it as a positive if 50 was going to sue me, because if 50 would have sued me, it would have made him look bad, because if you look at the documentary, it's just me showing praise to him. And the second thing, it would have put more attention on the documentary. More people would have been oh, what is this about? 50 suing. So it just would have been a positive on my end. It wouldn't have been anything negative. So I wasn't too worried about it, but yeah, you just got to make sure when you're making these things to, tell all sides of the story, to keep it very middle. Don't just side on one side or the other side. That's really what it's about. But yeah, it's been tossed, so he might file an appeal, but we'll see moving forward what happens. Updates on R. Kelly, and it seems like he's under fire as prison music begins to get industry push. That's crazy. R. Kelly has done a lot of harm to his reputation for many years at this point. Some would say it's irreparable. However, there are a few folks out there wishing the best for him and even hoping for a musical return. One of his recordings from behind bars is actually gaining some decent traction right now as a result, and it's causing controversy. Longtime musician Teddy Riley is one of the biggest voices campaigning on Kelly's behalf. Riley shared a remix of Chris Brown's "It Depends" that the disgraced crooner laid down. That's a crazy writing on there. At the very beginning, Kelly clarifies that it is in fact on the mic and then shouts out Breezy right after as a means to also celebrate the locked up vocalist's birthday, January 8th. Riley captioned the post accordingly. Still the king of R&B, bar none. Can't wait for y'all to hear the new music. Till then, teaser missiles will be dropping. It's about that time for real music legendary. Let's go. R. Kelly the king. Chris Brown caught wind of it, reacting favorably with fire and eye emojis. Many random Instagram users also gave it the stamp of approval, with one user saying, "He ate this up. R. Kelly still got it." Another responds, "Keeping R in our prayers. Super excited. He's with you. TR blessings." However, there's a considerable number of others speaking out against this cosign. Why would you support, promote, and work with someone who has committed so many atrocities to young women? As a father of 2 daughters, I couldn't possibly reconcile with myself to ever support and endorse this kind of behavior and actions. We have to expect and demand more of ourselves and others. Would you still work with him if you violated your daughter? One person questions Riley. Another echoes the unwavering support for pedophilia, rape, grooming, and kidnapping is mind-blowing and heartbreaking. It's given as long as it doesn't directly affect you or your family members, it doesn't matter. Whether or not this materializes to anything, this is going to be something to watch. Yeah, like I said, man, my take on it, he's a bad person, man. At the end of the day, I don't care how talented he is. And that's the problem. And that comment sums it up perfectly. Because it's not happening to your kids or to you, most people just brush it off and don't give a fuck. And that's the sad part in today's society. Like, you need to be, first off, an intelligent person. And this is a great sign of intelligence, a great sign of high IQ, is if you can put yourself in other people's shoes. That's a huge sign of emotional intelligence as well. And not many people do that, man. It's unfortunate. Like, put yourself in other people's point of view on things. Whenever you get in an argument with someone, sit down and think of their point of view of why they're hurt in the situation, or why, they don't like this, or whatever the case may be. And you'll solve a lot of things when you actually look at other people's point of views. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't. They don't sit there and put themselves in other people's shoes. And to a certain extent, you can blame the family members of the daughters. To a certain extent, you can blame the daughters, or not the daughters because they're young, under 18. Some of them don't know. Some of them know, whatever. You can blame certain people, right? The people that held this secret for years and work with R. Kelly still, they should be held accountable as well. But at the end of the day, he's a bad person. Like, it doesn't matter how talented he is. And that's the problem, is people are like, oh, it didn't happen to my kid, so I don't give a fuck. It's not a big deal to me. And people, you could throw like the 6ix9ine situation, right? The way I view it is, he's not snitching on me, so why does it affect it? It's not, at the end of the day, the 6ix9ine situation is different because those are actual gang members. Those are people committing actual bad crimes. 6ix9ine was involved in some of it. He snitched on them. Okay, the snitching to me doesn't matter. But this is a whole different situation. Now you're messing around with underage kids. You're doing all kinds of atrocious things to them. Doesn't matter if it's my daughter or not, or if I'm related to them or not. I can put myself in their shoes and say that, hey, this guy's a bad person. It's really that simple, man. And that's another problem where it's like, you'll see the wars going in Ukraine and Gaza, and kids getting killed left and right, women, kids, men, whatever. Everybody's getting killed left and right. And people are like, oh, it's not happening here, so I could care less what's going on over there. Like, that's messed up. That's a fucked up mentality to have. I'm not saying for you to dedicate your whole life to what's going on over there, but share a post, look at some things, be it well-informed what's going on to a certain extent. Obviously, don't be too informed because that can fuck with your mental health. There's a balance in all this stuff because there's too much shit going on in the world. If you try to stay up to date on that, you'll just destroy your mental health. I'm telling you. I try to sometimes stay up. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I trying to stay up to date on this stuff? It's fucking with my mind. You'll see videos of like decapitated kids, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? In the war that's happening with Israel and Gaza. It's ridiculous over there. They're murdering so many kids, so many. Like, I think the death toll on just kids themselves is like 300,000, which is insane. Like, how is that not being talked about more? How are not people more in a rage about it? But because it's not happening in America, people just genuinely don't care. And it affects us in one way or another because we're sending money out there. We're doing all kinds of stuff. Same with Ukraine. The exact same thing with Russia and Ukraine. The wars over there. It's sad all around, man. And there's all kinds of wars happening all over the world. It's hard to keep up with everything. And, but at the end of the day, if you see something like that on your timeline, to just ignore it and just, try to be somewhat informed on some of these things because they do impact us. And try to just, you don't have to, if you don't even care that much, just try to feel some type of empathy for people, regardless of what side you are or what you believe. Like, at the end of the day, civilians themselves never want war. It's usually the powerful people that are in position that are causing all these wars. And that's the sad part. Most people, 80% of people, 90% of people that are living in these countries, they want no wars. They want no issues. They just want to live their lives normally. They want to be able to wake up, go to work, see their family, go out a little bit, have some fun. And that's it. They don't want to have worry about bombs hitting them and killing them, all kinds of stuff like that. Nobody in the civilian world wants war. It's these people in powerful positions that are causing all these things to happen. So that's why I can put myself in people's shoes. Like, when things happen, I'm like, man, that's fucked up, man. That's a bad situation. I mean, I came from a war. I'm a refugee. In my war with Serbia and Kosovo, we were basically about to be ethnically cleansed. If it wasn't for NATO coming in and saving us, we would have been ethnically cleansed. I think we would have, we cheated death like probably 3 times over there, man, me and my family. So I can, even without having to go through that, I still would have empathy for people over there. So in this type of R. Kelly situation, it's the same thing. Like, just because it didn't happen to your kids doesn't mean you can't have empathy and be like, this guy's a bad person. It just doesn't make any sense on that, from that aspect. But yeah, I'm not for pushing this guy's music. I could care less. Yes, R. Kelly is one of the most talented, if not the best R&B artist ever. There's no taking, you can't take that away from him, but I can't say, hey, I don't fuck with this guy because of this situation. I mean, everybody teach their own, though. Some people are like, he did it. It's messed up. He's serving his time, but I can still listen to his old music and still enjoy it. Okay, that's fair. But, to me, if you're doing this type of shit, come on, man. To me, it's over with. But yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward with this music that he's got released. Continuing on, Pooh Shiesty's record label had clarified he's not locked up. So let's go over this. There were reports that he got locked up, and then the label basically was like, what's going on? And yeah, so Pooh Shiesty's record label has confirmed that he is not under arrest despite rumors to the contrary surfacing on Monday. The drama began when DJ Akademiks confirmed his name appears in a Federal Bureau of Prisons records with a release date listed as April 11, 2026. Shiesty had recently been serving a 5-year sentence related to firearms charge, but he got out early back in October. Akademiks wrote, so slight update, the facility they claim he's located at as a halfway house for inmates who are about to be released. Also, his release date seems to 3 months from yesterday. Most halfway houses will house an inmate for 3 to 12 months of the ending of their bid. From there, Akademiks speculated that the update could stem from a violation, but there was no information confirming as such. What's unsure is if he was listed as in custody when we saw him obviously being free shooting music videos. Eventually, Akademiks confirmed Shiesty's label reached out to debunk the entire situation. Apparently, his April date existed since his release, and he's on home confinement until April, like he has been the whole time since his release. Rumors of his incarceration started via a stream when fans assumed a conversation of one of his closest friends' streams was about him being arrested. So, yeah, they denied it, said he's good, which is cool because he has that FDO record, and it's I think it's number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100, which is huge for him. I mean, he's about to have a top 10 hit record. And by the way, what's crazy about this track is there is no hook. It's just him rapping for, I believe, like 3 or 4 minutes, maybe more. So that's very interesting, man. To have a record do well like that, and you're not really rapping a hook. It's not like a melodic. Well, it kind of is melodic a little bit, but yeah, it's a 6 minute. At least the video is 6 minutes. I don't know how long the song is 5 minutes and 20 seconds. So basically, 5 minutes of him just rapping with no hook. That's crazy. For that to be a top 10 hit, that's a huge, that's insane. Usually it's these melodic hook ones that get hit records. But yeah, it's good to know at least he's not locked up and he can keep this momentum going. So yeah, we'll keep our updates if anything happens with him. All right, I want to talk about this just because this is my example, because a lot of people attack me for supporting 50 and say I'm a stan, I'm a dick rider, all this stuff, right? But this is my example of somebody of a stan versus just somebody who's a huge fan. I'm a fan, but I can criticize 50's music. Like I said, that Italian record that came out, not a fan of it at all. Not a good song. 50 did not kill it. I don't know what some people are talking about. Oh, he did so great on that record. No, it was all right. It was nothing special. Came and went. I could care less about the song, right? But this post, to me, just shows that there's a difference between somebody dick riding and then somebody being a fan. I'm a fan of 50 Cent. There's so much stuff that I like about him. Obviously, musically, he's my favorite rapper. But there are albums, there are songs, there are mixtape cuts, whatever, that are not good songs at all, that I don't rock with, I can't bump, and that's it. And I don't consider every album he's released a classic. I consider 2. The second one is just barely. There's like one track that barely makes it a classic. Get Rich or Die Trying, obviously, to me, is the greatest album of all time. And The Massacre has almost classic. There's like one song, I think it's the record with Jamie Foxx, Baby I Build You. I'm not really a fan of that record. That record's, that's the only one where I'm like, do I really like this track? That's it. But everything after that is good on The Massacre. But look at this Akademiks. Akademiks said he labeled Drake's For All the Dogs a classic. That is a stand. That's a stand, guys. There is nobody on God's green earth right now who isn't a Drake stan that thinks For All the Dogs is a classic. It is nowhere near a classic. That song has maybe 4 or 5 good songs on it. And that's my opinion, obviously. But for anybody to call it a classic, you have to be a Drake stan.
Yo, let me say this, man. This is why Drake the greatest, man. It's like the nigga know me, gang. Yo, from 2009, Drake, no matter what I was going through my life, it's like he always made a song that year for that song. This album, classic. One of the best breakup albums I ever heard. Classic. Classic. Y'all can't fuck with Drake. He's the fucking GOAT. And when he drop again, he'll be the GOAT even more. This, every song. Remember this was the album I was like, bruh, classic. For All the Dogs, one of the greatest breakup albums of all time, nigga.
And see, this is, dude, like, can Akademiks get criticism for this? This is like me calling 50 Cent's Animal Ambition album a classic, which I would never do. Never, because it's not a classic. In fact, that album it's all right, really, to be honest with you. So me, this is what I'm saying. I get flack for 50, right? Oh, you're a dick rider. You're a stan. All you do is support, blah, blah, blah. Well, look at this shit. This guy is calling For All the Dogs a fucking classic. And yet I get attacked like crazy. So come on, man, guys. Like this, I just wanted to talk about this because that's clear as day as stan. When you can't reckon, if you call everything, that's probably one of Drake's worst albums is For All the Dogs. I don't know. I got to look over his album rankings and stuff. I have to actually rank Drake's albums as well. But For All the Dogs is not that good of a project, man. It's this and honestly Nevermind that were like dookie water to me. So him calling this a classic, that's when you know you got a stan on your hands. Me, I'm not calling 50 Cent projects that aren't good classics. 50 got maybe 2 classics to me. And that's like pushing it, you know. And he's got 5 studio albums. So there's not really much that you can pick from there. But to me, maybe he's got 2. Maybe. He's got 1 indefinitely. And to me, it's my greatest album of all time, Give It or Die Trying. I think he has the best album that's ever been released ever in music history, let alone hip-hop, in music, period. To me, that's my opinion. To call, like, if I were to call Animal Ambition a classic, then you guys could say I'm a stan, I'm a dick rider, because come on, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So this is ridiculous. I just wanted to talk about it because this is ridiculous. This is what I'm saying. But I get attacked for this shit. So I'm going to clip this, by the way. I'm going to post it on social media so all you guys can comment and be like, yeah, but we thought, because let's be honest here. I am honest about 50's music. I've always been. Now, do I appreciate his music maybe more than the average person? Yes, because I'm a fan. Why wouldn't I? Obviously. But I don't sit there and praise everything 50's done musically or everything that he's ever done. There's been a lot of things I've criticized and been like, nah, that's not it. Nah, this is not it, blah, blah, blah. But people don't see that. People don't hear that. They just see the stuff that I'm supporting, and then they attack me for it. That's just the internet for you, though. They'll find things like, you know, it's ridiculous. But regardless, I just wanted to say this is the stan stuff you're talking about, not me. I'm not a stan of any artist because I'm honest about shit, you know. But yeah, continuing on with Drake, he becomes the first rapper with 10 albums on the Billboard 200 simultaneously. So let's go over this. Drake has become the first rapper to simultaneously have 10 different albums ranked on the Billboard 200 chart in the same week. His 2022 project, Her Loss, squeaked into the latest update at number 200, helping him make history. Let's go over this, actually. I want to see what albums there are. That's crazy. 10 albums on the Billboard 200. So you got Take Care, number 17. Some Sexy Songs for You, number 25. Views at number 39. Certified Lover Boy, number 64. For All the Dogs, number 72. Thank Me Later, number 92. Scorpion, number 101. More Life, number 133. Nothing Was the Same, number 179. And then Her Loss at number 200. First off, Nothing Was the Same should be way higher up. I don't know why Views gets so much streams. Like, it's not that good of an album. Views is all right. Yeah, it's like all right. I think Scorpion should be higher than Views, to be honest with you. I got to go over those albums. I haven't listened to actually Views or Scorpion in a minute. But, yeah, Certified Lover Boy, I can understand why people like it, man. At the time, I didn't really like it, but I can understand. As the years went on, I've kind of grown to like the album a little bit better. But For All the Dogs should not be on there. Yeah, I think Nothing Was the Same should be bigger. But that's very cool, man. Huge accomplishment. Round of applause to Drake. That's hard to do, man. That's not something that's easy to do, especially the amount of music he's released. To still have people listening to a lot of the older projects as well. Just shows that he's got quality bodies of work. So round of applause to him. And, yeah, hopefully he gets 11 on there. That would be crazy. I don't know what the biggest number is because it says becomes first rapper. So is there, you know, an other genre artist that has more albums on there? I don't know. Maybe he might be the first artist, period. Who knows? But we'll see. Speaking of 50 Cent earlier, 50 Cent has secured and invested $124 million. Yes, you heard that right. $124 million with Junit Films and Television in the state of Louisiana. Round of applause. That is huge. So let's go over this article. 50 Cent's winning streak continues. Recently, Unit Film and Television has finalized a massive $124 million agreement with the state of Louisiana. Per the deal, 3 properties in the downtown Shreveport will be transformed into entertainment venues. The Los Angeles Times reports that this includes former facilities owned by Stageworks and Millennium Studios. It also includes a dome-style immersive venue complete with a new park. Over the past 2 years, my administration has worked to build the most competitive business environment in the country, Governor Jeff Landry said of the deal. This announcement is another clear sign that our momentum is real, he continued, and that our wins span every corner of the state and every industry. Unit commissioned an independent economic study on the impact of the development. The study projected that over the next 20 years, the development will generate a whopping $18.8 billion. It's additionally projected to support over 6,000 jobs, according to the state, and pay $300 million in wages. That is insane. The project is the realization of a long-term commitment I have made to the city of Shreveport and the state of Louisiana, 50 Cent explained. By reinvesting in downtown Shreveport and upgrading existing assets to create a state-of-the-art entertainment and production facilities, we are creating jobs, inspiring hope, attracting new productions, and giving the entire entertainment industry a reason to build their futures together. My goal is to turn Northwest Louisiana into the premier destination for film, music, and live entertainment on a national scale, he added. All roads lead to Shreveport. Hell yeah, Green Light Gang. Very cool, man. One of the things that this should teach you guys, and this should teach everybody, is invest in yourself, man. Take the time to invest properly in what you believe in the vision. I remember vividly 50 switching to more TV stuff, and 50 failed with the first TV show, which was The Money and the Power on MTV. Didn't do well. It flopped. MTV put it to like 12 or 1 o'clock at night, the episodes, and then it just dwindled out, and then nobody cared about the show. So what? He had a failure. It happens. Then he started doing the independent movies things. He had a budget of $200 million, I believe, from Lionsgate. They budgeted to 10 movies, each having $10 million per movie, I think. It might have been $20 million per movie, somewhere around there. And some of the movies didn't do well. Some of the movies people clowned him on online. The one where he lost a lot of weight and was playing a cancer patient, All Things Fall Apart, which is actually a pretty good movie. People were clowning him online for it. So this just shows that, hey, believe in yourself. There's people online that were critiquing him, saying all kinds of stuff. He was failing here and there sometimes. But, hey, took that one hit with Power, skyrocketed, and from there he's been off to the races. Has there been shows that failed here and there? Yes, of course. But there's been massive successes as well, and it's led to this $124 million that he's invested in there. And you know what's funny about all this is 50 Cent's net worth online is like $50 million or $40 million or whatever the amount is. And people still believe he's worth that. Like, people still genuinely Google that and think he's worth only 40 or 50 million. But yet he has $124 million he can invest. Yet his tour generated 100 and whatever it was, 110 million. Yet this and that and all these deals he's doing. But people are still foolish enough to be like, oh, he's only worth $40 million. Like, come on, guys. That'd be saying like Drake's not a billionaire when he is. Clearly, it's clear as day Drake is a billionaire. He just hasn't revealed the number. We can't go off of what's online. There's net worths of me on there online. It's nowhere near accurate. And I know, I'm quote unquote, to a certain extent, a public figure, right? So with those numbers, it just goes to show that people just don't know what they're talking about. You don't know what people's money is. Nobody knows besides the person themselves. Not Forbes, nobody. Forbes can look around and ask people and say, hey, this is what we think. But even they don't know to a full extent, right? I say all that to say congratulations to 50. Very huge accomplishment. I look forward to all the stuff in Louisiana. I want to see what happens there. The renderings of what the building is going to look very cool. And hopefully I got an office down there, man. Shout out to Diverse Mentality Studios. It's going to be right there in a little office. Going to have it on the door. And, yeah, I'm going to be running my own little thing there. It'll be really cool. But, yeah, congratulations to him and huge investment for Louisiana. All right, Billboard Hot 100. Let's get into it. The fate of Ophelia is back at Ophelia, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't even know. Is back at number 1. Or actually, it's been at number 1. And it's Taylor Swift's first song to spend 10 weeks at number 1. So she's breaking her own records. Really cool there. Number 2, Alex Warren, Ordinary. Number 3, Golden Hunter X. Number 4, Man I Need, Olivia Dean. Number 5, Choosing Texas, Ella Langley. Number 6, End of the Beginning, Dejo. Number 7, Folded, Kalani. Number 8, Back to Friends, Somber. Number 8, A Polite. Taylor Swift. Number 10, Mutt Leon Thomas. Going down the list, Lil Uzi Vert, What You Sayin', number 14. So he's got another hit. FDO is number 17. So it's actually going down the charts. Last week it was number 12. So we'll see. Hopefully it jumps back up on the charts. Chris Brown, It Depends, number 18. That's been a sleeper hit. Chris Brown's been having always these records that like he drops and then they slowly climb up the charts. Gunna, WGFT. This is also a song that's been slowly climbing up the charts. It's number 25. Hell at Night, BX Plug, number 26. ESD Kid, 4 Raws, number 36. That kid has an interesting sound, by the way. That rapper, quote unquote rapper. Going down the list, let's see. Doshi and SZA, Girl Get Up, number 57 debut. NBA Youngboy, Shot Calling, number 58. Time, Cardi B, number 59. Metro Boomin, Take Me Through There, number 65. ESD Kid, Phantom, number 72. 21 Savage and Drake, Mr. Recoup, number 73. Sugar on My Tongue, Tyler the Creator, number 84. Ty Dolla $ign, Don't Kill the Party, number 96 debut. Interesting. And that's it. And that's it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. As always, appreciate you guys. Support us, Spotify, Deezer, Podcast, YouTube, all that. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to this, and peace.